the hall. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, will the congregation please rise?
Good afternoon, you may be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure if this microphone is on. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Good afternoon. My name is Jerome September, and I am the Dean of Student Affairs here at the University of the Witwatersrand. Welcome to this postgraduate welcome event. We are delighted for those of you who have joined us here in the Great Hall, and we also welcome every student, their family, who join us online via the live feed. With us this afternoon, we are grateful to have Deputy Vice-Chancellors, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Lynn Morris, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Ian Jandrell, the Registrar, the Head of the Postgraduate Office, the Director, the Chair of the Postgrad Association, and our special guest speaker, whom you will hear about shortly. This program is really for us an important initiative in that it recognizes our aspirations to be a postgraduate, a research-led university. It is particularly special one day after the Parliament of South Africa back in the day, 100 years ago, formally declared Wits a university. And so 100 years ago, yesterday, this place really began to take shape, to grow, to develop, and to become the place that it is today. And so we are really, really delighted that you are here. We are delighted that you hopefully enjoyed this morning session, and that you will also enjoy us for the nice stuff after this formal kind of welcome, which is of course a function in the Great Hall in Solomon Mahlangu, and later on for the play at the Wits Theatre. It is now my pleasure, and I'm going to dive straight into that, to welcome, to address you. I am going to do formal introductions so that you get a sense of the leadership, you get a sense of the people who are driving the postgraduate education on our campus, and you get a sense of also your student leadership and of course your speaker this afternoon. So I ask that you indulge us for a second or two. Our Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation is Professor Lynn Morris. Lynn Morris is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation. She has a DPhil from the University of Oxford and is Research Professor and Director of the Antibody Immunity Research Unit based at the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. a division of the National Health Laboratory Service. Over the last 28 years, she's made significant contributions to understanding the antibody response to HIV and is responsible for performing validated antibody assays for HIV clinical trials. Lynn is a NRF A-rated scientist, has published over 270 papers, holding a H index of 64, and has featured in the Web of Science list of highly cited researchers. She's a member of the Academy of Science of South Africa, is a fellow of the African Academy of Sciences, the Royal Society of South Africa, and the World Academy of Sciences. Please welcome Professor Lynn Morris.
Thanks very much, Jerome, for that invitation. Yes, I am a scientist, although these days I'm less of a scientist. As Jerome said, I'm the DVC of Research and Innovation, and I guess what I want to first of all say is that postgrad students underline all of that, because there was some concern. This post used to be called Research and Postgraduate Affairs, and it was changed to Innovation, but that's simply because postgrad students underlie both research and innovation, and so they're very much part, you know, of the strategy, and very much part of my portfolio, and it's something I'm certainly prioritizing. So this is a wonderful occasion, and I want to thank Mr. Jerome September, the Dean of Students, for arranging this, and his team, you know, for putting this wonderful welcome day together. Because postgrad students do play a special role in our university. And I'd like to welcome all of you here today, and also to welcome all of you who are online, the homies, because becoming a postgrad student signals many things. First of all, it means you're smart and you're very determined. The last 2 years have been exceptionally tough on everyone, but I think particularly students, who are essentially still trying to find their place in the world. And being a student can be a vulnerable time in your life. And so deciding to do a postgraduate degree is a big step. And for those of you who are doing a research postgraduate degree, it means you're willing to take a step into the unknown and be ready to make the most of what you will discover. And for those doing the coursework, master's degrees and honors degrees, it means you want to hone your skills, make yourselves more employable, and have greater impact on society. And we've graduated many exceptional postgrad students at this university who've gone on to start and lead major companies, discover new treatments, lead movements that have changed the course of history, devise new technologies, develop new policies, and that collectively they have made our country, but also our world, a better place. So congratulations on taking this big step, and I also want to thank you for choosing Wits. So as Jerome mentioned, Wits is, and I'm sure you all know, and that's the reason why you chose Wits, is a leading university on the African continent and is internationally recognized for its academic excellence, particularly in its postgraduate training. And we pride ourselves on being a research-intensive university, and postgrad students are central to this. Currently, almost 40% of our student body are postgraduate students, and that's a total of 16,000 of you. And they're across all 5 faculties, with the largest faculty being in Commerce, Law and Management. And you'll have all heard about the excellence and the achievements in each of the faculties in the sessions that you all attended this morning. And shortly you will hear from Prof. Robert Maponde from the Postgraduate Affairs Office about all the postgraduate support programs that are available to you. And we have other very talented staff in the office who are applying their minds to the broader strategic matters that affect postgraduate students. And our overall aim is to ensure that you have a swift, secure, and stimulating experience at Wits. So swift means that we want students to complete their courses in the allocated time, so we have systems in place to track your progress. Secure means we want you to feel safe and supported while you're doing your degrees, and this includes financial security. Stimulating refers to making sure that our programs and projects are at the cutting edge of technology and innovation, and that your teachers, mentors, and supervisors are world-leading. Currently, Wits has a number of A-rated scientists, distinguished professors, and other eminent scholars who are all considered world leaders in their areas. And we have a large number of active research entities who engage in full-time research and postgraduate training. And Wits offers many opportunities, and I encourage you to take advantage of all of these. But being in this hall brings back many memories of when I was a student at this university. I completed my BSc Honours in Microbiology and Zoology in 1982. I was also active in student politics as the science representative on the SRC. But South Africa was a very different place 40 years ago. This was a time of political turmoil and dissent. Campus was at times a tense and uncomfortable place, with raids by the security police, friends in detention, and restrictions on who could study at Wits. Fortunately, as you all know, this has changed. And Wits came into being, as we heard, exactly 100 years ago as an act of parliament on the 3rd of March 1922. So in the centenary year, it's truly a delight that we're all here today in this great hall to really reflect on how far we've come and to celebrate where we are now and to look forward to the next 100 years. And looking at all of you now, I feel very confident in saying that our future is very bright. But getting there takes a lot of hard work. One of my earliest mentors once said that success is 50% talent and 50% of sheer hard work. Those of you who have read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, The Story of Success, will have heard of the 10,000-hour rule. In it, he claims that the key to success in any field, whether you want to become a rocket scientist or a rock star, is simply a matter of practicing a specific task again and again for 10,000 hours. So that's the equivalent of 20 hours of work a week for 10 years. Indeed, hard work and dedication is a common trait amongst people who are successful. But it's also about perseverance and focus, an ability to stick with the plan, whatever happens along the way, and not to get distracted. So one way to fast-track success is to find a good mentor, someone who will give you sound advice and help you avoid pitfalls and career dead ends, who can connect you with the right people and assist you to navigate politics and bureaucracy. A mentor can help you convert your theoretical knowledge into practice and inspire and motivate you. The mentor-mentee relationship is a commitment that takes time and effort and is based on empathy and mutual respect. Mentorship is a gift, so protect it and nourish it. And the benefits of mentorship will last long after you have outgrown this phase. Collaboration is another important ingredient of success. Many studies have shown that societies and groups that collaborate are more successful than those who don't. And science is becoming increasingly collaborative and multidisciplinary with the emergence of big science. So start building a network of people who can help you. Choose people who complement rather than overlap and compete. Collaboration is built on trust, openness, and honesty. It's about giving more than you get. Innovation is a product of collaboration. Studies have shown that a multidisciplinary team with a strong sense of a shared mission, so-called group genius rather than a single lonely genius, is what drives innovation. We need to encourage and reward innovation as our future lies in finding creative solutions to our most pressing problems. I realize now that I've been at Wits in this position for almost a year. I never took full advantage of being a student while I was at Wits. I never went beyond my own area I didn't go outside my classroom. I didn't explore the other spaces at Wits, and that's really something I want to encourage you all to do, especially as postgrad students. So attend seminars in other faculties. Visit the library often. Go to areas of the library you wouldn't normally go to. Go to the events at WAM or at the Origin Center. Start interacting and collaborating with those outside of your area. And so to tell you a little bit more about myself, that my own path after I left Wits took me to Oxford, where I did a PhD in immunology. And I thought I was following my passion, but at times I really wondered if I was doing the right thing. My intention was to help humans, not mice, and it left me feeling a little unsatisfied. In fact, I considered whether I wanted to be a research scientist at all, and I started applying for all sorts of weird jobs that actually nobody wanted me for. But it taught me some of the most important lessons, such as hard work and perseverance, and the importance of mentorship and collaboration that continue to serve me well even today. After Oxford, I went to Australia, where I did a postdoctoral fellowship working on, an experimental mouse model that left me feeling still somewhat disconnected from what I really wanted to do. But I hadn't really quite identified what that would be. And it was only when I came back to South Africa 30 years ago now that I figured that out. I wanted to work on something where I felt like I was making a difference, and that turned out to be HIV. And I've spent my entire career trying to make a vaccine to HIV. And I'm afraid to say that we still have not been able to do that. But one of the things that we have done is we've contributed to helping to make vaccines to COVID, or to evaluate vaccines to COVID. Through some of the platforms and the systems that we had set up for HIV, we were very quickly able to use those to help with the COVID effort. And so that's really a lesson of thinking of not actually knowing where your research is going to take you. So, and it's about seeing opportunities and very quickly applying your knowledge to the problem of the day. And I think that's really a very good lesson in terms of investing in research. We don't always know where it's going, but it is also about being responsive to the needs. So I want to also just tell you a little bit about the new focus on innovation at the university. You will all know that our Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Zeblon Vilakazi, has made innovation a new strategic priority for Wits. He's called this the moonshot moment. And postgrad students, again, are going to play a key role in realizing, these moonshots. This new focus means that we want our students and our staff, of course, to think beyond just doing the research. We want you to think, what impact can your research have in society? And in order to do that, it's important that you think about your research question. You engage with the communities who are, in fact, you're working for to solve problems. Find out what the real problems are. Involve them in your proposal development, and to get their voices actively part of your development phase. Collaborate widely, because actually multidisciplinary solutions are really coming up with the best solutions, and to start really thinking out of the box. But this new innovation strategy is going to see hopefully a new way of thinking about the research that we do. And it's also going to be creating new spaces on campus, new innovation spaces, creators and maker spaces. And you'll hear shortly from Leslie Williams, the CEO of Tshimologong, about some of these spaces that we're going to be making more of in the future. So finally, I just want to say, in the wise words of Nelson Mandela, education is the great engine of personal development. In particular, a postgrad education gives you far more than simply better job prospects and paychecks. It teaches you how to think. It broadens your perspective and gives you the power to change your mind and to change the mind of others. Education helps us to understand other points of view and is a great leveler of inequality, allowing people to free themselves from set paths. It also teaches you how to think analytically, a skill that can be used to negotiate many situations. South Africa needs bright young minds like yours to build a nation of critical thinkers. So in closing, I want to once all again congratulate you for choosing to be postgraduate students at Wits. It's an exciting time, and I encourage you all to make the most of it and to aspire to greatness. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for those words. The welcome, the reminder of what the possibilities might be on this journey. Thank you for sharing the personal also around questioning the journey that you found yourself on, and sometimes wondering whether you're here to serve mice or make a contribution to broader society. The job applications that didn't go the way that you thought it would go, and how your work in HIV actually led to you making a significant contribution through that work to the current pandemic and finding a vaccine. And as postgrad students, I guess the journey you're embarking on is a journey where you're going to encounter a lot of this, the uncertainty, the questioning about whether the journey you're on is indeed the right journey, the questioning around whether that one brain cell is still working or not, the ups and downs. And so thank you for sharing that with us, because I think it is something that one can romanticize the journey and not appreciate what might lie ahead for you. And so just know part of this program is really also part of creating a community, so that you have a sense of who you can lean on, who you can talk to in those days where things are maybe not as certain as you would have wanted it to be. Our next speaker is a very important person at the university and in the life of postgraduate students. The Postgraduate Association is a group of postgraduate students that are elected annually to represent the interests, the voices, the aspirations of postgraduate students at Wits. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the chairperson of that association. Thando Dlamini is currently studying towards a postgraduate diploma in management. He's completed a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Arts Honours. Having served on several student governance structures at the university, he is now the chairperson of the Postgraduate Association. Please welcome to the podium, Thando Dlamini.
Thank you, Dean. My name is Thando Yeningi Thando, Kiss yomlungu, intombi zinqabula ebusuku ngoba yisaba amasokazi. Umafavuke, ingwekazi yaseBasuthwini, ingwe emabalabala bathi bayibeka amabala yaphenduka yaba mabala. Thank you for the opportunity to address all the postgraduate students who are the most important stakeholders in this event today. In absentia, the Chancellor of the University, Judy Dlamini, the VC, Professor Zeblon Vilakazi, also in absentia, the Chairperson of Council, Isaac, am I even audible? Oh, okay, all right. Isaac Braai Shongwe, the DVC of Research and Innovation, the previous speaker, Professor Lynn Morris, Director of Postgraduate Affairs, Professor Muponde is the only one in the red gown that's standing out there. The Registrar of the University, who is the longest serving registrar in the country. I think she's the only permanent registrar in the country, Carol Crossley. The Dean of Students, the Dean of Dean, Umuntu Abantu, Jerome September. In the Office of Student Affairs, we've got Usisi Madlamini, Thembi Dlamini, as well as Rebecca Mahaule, who worked very hard to make this event possible. In the Office of Student Governance, we've got Uga Mashinini, Sis J, I think she's not around. We've got Uboti Tsepon Lovo, we've got Uboti Wiseman Kumalo, and we've also got Usisi Shan Mamaf. We've also got the #1 student in the university, the president of the SRC, Mr. Tshimologong Samuel, the military man. Kumalo, can you just stand up and then we see him and then give him a round of applause? With him in absentia, although the Deputy President, Lesego, the Secretary General of the SRC, Christando, the Deputy Secretary of the SRC, she's present, Sinalo Mafanya. May you please stand up? We've got our all-faculty chair. He's in the hat. I think he's the only one in a cricket hat. South Africa won against New Zealand not so long ago. So, Mabena, please. also got my boss, actually, our CSO officer, Mr. Olwetu Smelane. We've also got the academics officer, our savior, our firefighter, Ms. Tsiamo Chuma. And the rest of the SRC in absentia. I've only been given 10 minutes, but I hope I do justice. And most importantly also, can you give yourselves a round of applause, the postgraduate students here. It's with this singular honor that as the chairperson of the Postgraduate Association at the University of Witwatersrand, I stand before you to welcome you to the university's first official Postgraduate Welcome Day. You are standing on the shoulders of giants. Some of you, like myself, come from nothing. Some of you are breadwinners, first-time university graduates in your families, first-time postgraduate students in your communities. This is an opportunity to change your living reality and material conditions while leaving a legacy behind. I trust that you find your postgraduate studies for 2022 rewarding and enriching. We are here to support you in finding a suitable environment that will allow you to flourish regardless of your course of study, be it a postgraduate diploma, an honors, a master's, a PhD, full-time or part-time. We are behind you. As the creme de la creme, they say, of intellectuals and knowledge producers on the African continent. Congratulations, actually, on being admitted as a new or returning postgraduate student at the Harvard of Africa. Don't be told otherwise. You should walk around as people who are breathing flavored air. You are the best thing that has happened to the university since sliced bread. Welcome to Wits University again. Isikhungo esikhulu esiphakeme semfundo esiphumelele eNingizimu Afrika. It's the third oldest university in South Africa, but the only one to have built a megacity, which is Johannesburg. And in Johannesburg, we've got Soweto, which is the largest township in the Southern Hemisphere. Our research drivers in the university, of course, are strongly centered around knowledge generation. You know, universities provide the foundations of a nation's social, cultural, economic, and technological progress. Besides the academic programs offered in the university, we build human capital. Research activities are also a pillar that are besides the academic programs that the university offers. Universities act as the microcosm of a society. Therefore, students, being yourself, should reflect this. I encourage you to research on bread and butter issues in society. Provide knowledge and solutions. Write in indigenous languages. Create knowledge that your great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, grandfathers, and grandmothers can relate to and can engage on. Under verse 100 in its centenary year, and towards the next 100, President, we are saying that this is the future. The university has a distinct and proud reputation for its academic and research excellence, innovation, enlightened discourse, and its ability to provide a platform to allowing liberal voices to be heard. It has a proud record of standing up to social justice, freedom, and democracy, and is inspired to build on its current achievements to create a better future for all. Critically, the university body is made up of 57% of female students, which speaks to representation. We also have gender-neutral bathrooms. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Disability-friendly bathrooms as well. And thanks to our EBE faculty, we've got disability-friendly infrastructure, which speaks to the access and inclusivity. Inclusivity. What? Dean, please assist this. Okay. You know, our researchers and innovators are constantly collaborating to leverage the next level discovery research. We seek to develop inter, trans, and multidisciplinary technologies in education, law, business, engineering, science, health, digital arts, game design, media innovation, and digital journalism, and many other fields. In innovation, under the stewardship of Professor Lynn Morris, we've seen increasing innovative outputs from our very own innovation and digital precinct called Tshimologong in Braamfontein. I think the CEO of Tshimologong, Leslie, will speak on it later. The university provides a platform for intellectual debate and critical thinking across many disciplines. And then now, my role, okay, as well as my team's role, that's standing here in front of me, the Wits PGA, short for the Postgraduate Association, is the postgraduate student body that serves as the bridge, or wants to serve as the bridge between management and students. The association looks after the interest of its postgraduate constituency within the university. It also acts as the vehicle that improves the material conditions of postgraduate students on campus, while simultaneously being the advocate that champions a conducive, wholesome learning environment that will assist postgraduate students in not only conquering the edge, but sharpening it as well. Our focus areas are finances, academics, accommodation, international student relations, mental wellness, and transformation. Do keep up with our activities on our website, as well as visit our pages on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Wits PGA. Our office address is as follows: room 90, ground floor, Central Block, East Campus. We have looked at the fee crisis. We've successfully lobbied the university to publish electronic and hard copy versions of the new postgraduate funding booklet, which makes it easier to find internal funding opportunities relative to your academic department. We are also lobbying the university to become more proactive in sourcing funding that will clear all postgraduate student debt, particularly at master's and PhD level. You cannot produce knowledge for the university while at the same time owing the same university. Closely working with my treasurer, Umntwana weThonga, uMagatebe, we are also actively lobbying the university to provide an alternative internal funding scholarship that works collaboratively with the PMA with less stringent criteria that will have better access to internal funding. The Wits PGA is currently housed under the administration of the Student Governance Office short is SGO. PGAs are not explicitly mentioned in the Higher Education Act, but are assumed to form part of SRCs. The Higher Education Act does, however, make provision for the establishment, composition, manner of election, term of office, functions, privileges of the student representative bodies as institutions of higher learning see it fit. The PGA is mentioned in the university statute under its definitions, but is omitted from the student section. The SRC constitution acknowledges the PGA as a student body defined by the university statutes and simultaneously affirms the PGA as a substructure of the SRC. The positionality of the PGA is explicitly addressed by neither the Higher Education Act, the University Statute, nor the SRC Constitution. Because of this reality, the PGA has mistakenly been treated as a society or club, which is reflected in the PGA historically receiving disproportionate funding and inadequate administrative support in relation to the size of the demographic it represents. This undermines the Postgraduate Association's role and responsibility in representing the Wits postgraduate community. As a solution, I'm an honest man, a good man, so as a solution, Prof is here, the director is here, the registrar is here, the deans are here, the CEO as well for money, she's here. Our proposal is to incorporate the administrative oversight and resourcing of the Postgraduate Association under the umbrella of the Postgraduate Affairs and Research Office. This proximity is beneficial in as far as availability and streamlined use of resources, as well as staff to better support the administration of the PGA. This move not only increases the capacity of postgrads, of the Postgraduate Association, but that of the Postgraduate Affairs and Research Office, given that projects, initiatives, and events between us will be more impactful and better coordinated. Okay, and finally, I think my 10 minutes is up now. I've said some controversial things. And finally, embed yourself within your departmental community, your faculty community, the university culture, as well as in surrounding areas like Braamfontein, Melville, Soweto, Newtown, and the Zulu Food Lovers Market, KwaMai. It's also a multi-market. It's going to be a long year, so you'll need all the support you can get. And for me, most importantly, the pig. The pig is the association's very own social club. The pig is the PGA's hub for dining and social activities. It's also available at your disposal at a minimal subscription fee. You can cry there, have a drink or two, you know, that aren't at lockdown, take it or leave it prices. You can socialize there. And for some of us also who are suckers of love, you know, we are hoping to find partners there. So that brings me to the end of the welcome address. I'd also like now to steal from you, Jerome, just steal a couple of minutes to introduce the PGA so that you see the members here who represent this body, a very important body also in the university. And can I introduce them and call them up to stage? We've got our deputy chairperson here, Tanaka Spey. He's doing his master's in science. We've got our secretary, Ungobile Mkhize, who's doing her master's in mathematics of finance. We've got our treasurer, Ubuhle, Umntwana weThonga Khatebe, who's doing her MA in Dramatic Arts. We've got our Projects and Campaigns Officer, who's doing his MA in Politics, Mr. Roy Kamaung. We've got our EBE representative, Koketso Manchidi, who's doing his MSc in Property Development and Management. We have our Academic and Legal Officer, Ketani Matiki, who's doing his Master of Science in Medicine. Okay, we've got our international students reps, rep, Mr. Foto Ebo, who's doing his PhD. In absentia, our science faculty representative, who's also the former deputy chair of the association, Malifo Selet. Also in absentia, we've got our transformation and wellness officer, Nango Malifo. Please, another round of applause. We've got our transformation and wellness officer, also in absentia, Onesimo Mtsintilana, who's doing her PhD. So this is your PGA. Anything you need in regards to postgraduate issues, these are the people you can contact. Thank you, guys.
Let's give them another round of applause. The Postgraduate Association, an important structure at the university, not controversial. I'm sure there'll be many very interesting debates, both with ourselves and between the PGA and the SRC around positioning of various student governance structures and how we thrash out some of these issues that you allude to. Postgraduate students, it's important that you know your leadership, that you connect with them, that you give you a sense not just of the issues in terms of the difficulties that you face, but also in terms of your dreams and aspirations for yourself, for this university, and the kind of university you think we should create that would enable you and others that will come after you to really thrive in your research careers, in your research endeavors, and in how we better support you on campus. Don't take the PIG too lightly. It's an important place, and I want to encourage each one of you to find out what the PIG is, and more importantly, where the PIG is, so that you can go there on both social and other programs that you might have. But let's give another round of applause for your student leadership. Our next speaker is Professor Robert Muponde, who holds a PhD in English from the University of the Witwatersrand, where he's a professor of English in the School of Literature, Language, and Media. He has published widely on Zimbabwean and African literature. He serves as the Wits Director for Postgraduate Affairs and now serves as the head of the Postgraduate Liaison with the Postgraduate Affairs Office. Please welcome Professor Muponde.
Thank you very much for that, Jeremy. It's because my boss, the DVC, Professor Lynn Morris, always reminds me in certain moments, like, Robert, can't you say something more? Because I would just have said my title about what we'll be doing. Said, say a bit more about, what about that? Then I must say, I have forgotten, so I think you've taken the pressure off my shoulders for that. And thank you, Program Director, thank you, DVC, thank you, Tando, and the registrar, and DVC in general, and Leslie Williams will be here. And thank you for students. When the PGA chair spoke about the pig, I just started feeling the kind of butterflies or wings on my shoulders. I wanted to fly, because the pig is a place where you experience various stimuli of scholarship. If you have not been at the pig, you have not yet started your postgraduate journey. This is where the fountain of wisdom is, social wisdom and connection. So as the postgraduate liaison head, my business is to be the outward-facing aspect of postgraduate studies as Wits. In other words, this is the more public aspect, the more public face of Wits that you see. But I just want to cut to the chase, so to speak, and say that I'm very pleased to welcome you at a time when the institution is seized with this historic centenary campaign for Wits, which is turning 100. It's kind of scary to turn 100 if you're a human being, but it's actually empowering and to some extent inspiring to hear of things that are 100 years old, but not human beings, I suppose. So we are part of that journey that is made us arrive here, where we are all now 100 years in this particular institution. So you arrive at a time when Wits now boasts of over 200,000 graduates worldwide, most of them illustrious alumni in influential positions and emerged world-class achievements in research, innovation, humanities, science, and teaching. You also arrive at a time when nearly 40% of these students are pursuing postgraduate studies. I think we're the largest university in terms of that number in the whole, I think the whole continent. Other people struggling, I interact with them, are struggling at almost 10%, 15%. Some don't even know what percentage is. So here at Wits, it is very likely that if you throw a pen, not a stone, in the crowd at Wits, you are likely to hit a postgraduate student. That's how thick the sociality is of postgraduate studies at Wits. There's therefore a very strong postgraduate culture at Wits, and carefully planned support structures for postgraduate research developed over the years. It means that you'll be entering Wits knowing that you are backed by a solid legacy of research and excellence, which is 100 years deep. Not even diamonds are that deep in the ground. Now, given the social and institutional challenges stimulated and exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, you will be contributing to what our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Zebulon Vilakazi, has termed our moonshot moment, which is an opportunity to shine a spotlight on the next 100 years. So, if we have done the 100 years for you, I think you should also say to yourselves, this is time to relieve these guys, and we do the next 100 years for them. Then others also after us, when we've left our legacy behind, our footprints, indelible footprints behind, they will pick from there another 100 years. Before long, you are an ancestor to a human race that you never thought you would be able to be and manage. So, what it means, you are also poised to make a mark, entering history in order to move it forward. You are not entering history in order to stay in there, but to push it forward with what you have. Now, I want you to consider just one fact for a moment. It is a structural fact, it is a philosophical fact, and epistemological fact. Just consider this. The Postgraduate Affairs Office is on the 10th floor of the Solomon Mashangu building. On the 11th floor is where the Vice-Chancellor is. So if whatever you think about succession, you are next in line. So, So all of us are preparing to be succeeded structurally, and we're happy about that. Now, also given the focus on developing highly employable postgraduates, because it's not good to just say that you've got 40% postgraduate students at Wits, then you see 30% of them drunk and hopeless in Braamfontein and Hillbrow and Midrand, where there's far out, a nice place to drink and wine around, but you do not want to be there forever, right? So we want to create highly employable postgraduates. The emphasis on mentoring the next generation of scholars and critical thinkers is at the heart of the Central Postgraduate Affairs Office. We therefore are at the forefront of innovating postgraduate training, support programs, and structures. These structures and processes are meant to sustain the enrollment, retention, and graduation rates of our postgraduate students. We don't want you to be expert students in the sense that you kind of overstay your studentship. We want you to graduate, and we want to raise the graduation rates. It's not good to say we're 40% when you were 40% postgraduate, when you were counting some who have forgotten to graduate. That's what we don't want to do. So as the Central Postgraduate Office, we host a number of campus-wide events, seminars, competitions that provide opportunities for our students to excel in their studies and research and accentuate their Wits graduate attributes. Now, talking about graduate attributes, I was a student here at Wits. There was a time when you would drop your student card in the streets of Braamfontein. You found even street kids were in a rush to pick it up and hand it over to you. There was something magical, something of a talisman on that card that simply said Wits. And it was a passport to many places and many things. So there is that already aura of Witsiness that you find here. And you don't, after you've gone through our training programs, you do not have to announce yourself. You will be, to some extent, how should I put it? You just stand there. Even in clearing your throat, there's something Wits about it. So, now, I don't want to list all these attributes because you'll be an embodiment of these attributes and an ambassador of the vision and image that has been created painstakingly, rigorously over the past 100 years. It fits. So you carry the weight of history and the weight of hope that we have here. And these distinct attributes are captured succinctly in the motto, Wits for good. You enter this place, all hope flourishes. It's not in other places where you enter a particular place and all despair flourishes. But this is a place where you're Wits for good. You invest and it becomes your DNA, your character, your personality. You can't shake it off. You keep coming back. Now, I would urge you to check our PG Affairs website for the support programs that we offer. You are welcome to explore them. They are for free. They are for free. We pay the consultants, those who facilitate them, and all you need to do is just find what you want to do, and you come there. I'll just list two or three of the main programs that we run, the support programs. One of them is called the Gold Program. And gold is the standard bearer. The measure of man is gold. So these programs are called gold. But it actually means graduate ownership, learning, and development. You own your learning and your development. And we have over 100 of these seminars and workshops that are spread across the university. They equip you with the skills and knowledge and expertise needed to graduate successfully. and to thrive in the workplace thereafter. And the rationale behind the order of the workshop program is to create a ladder of learning. So it's a ladder of learning. I went to a particular school somewhere, I shall not mention the name, because there could be sons and daughters of people who also graduated from there. It was established in the township, and people were looking for students to come to study. And parents in those days used to hide their children under a reed basket, a big reed basket, so that they are not taken to school somehow, because it was an alien education system. You were not quite sure what would happen with your children there if they go to be educated in an alien place. So this school now, it was built, they put a lot of money into it, but they couldn't find students. So the motto of the school was, a ladder that has no legs to climb it. So in other words, but in our case, this is a ladder that has legs to climb it, or climb on it, and many of them. And it's up to you which one you want to select. And the reason being that when you enter Wits, you enter a particular life cycle, but from somewhere. Some come, like the PGA chair has said, he used the word nothing. I identify with that. They come from struggles, they are the first in the family, so there's just a lot that they've gone through. So we know that. And these workshops that we've got prepare you, right? Even whether you're talking about just writing an abstract, choosing a topic, how to write a paper, how to clear your ethics, we have all that. But there are others who are coming from privileged places and schools who hit the ground running. But that doesn't mean that you succeed when you hit the ground running. We want to cushion the impact for you and clear the hurdles ahead of you, even if you hit the ground running. Then the second one, which you should love, because here you make money. We do not believe that we should encourage a culture of students just stretching their hands asking for help. We want a culture of self-upliftment, self-help. So we create programs where you compete for top prizes, and these top prizes come with a real cash. You can almost deposit, can afford a 10% deposit on a second-hand car. And this is called the 13th Cross-Faculty Symposium. We'll be advertising this year. It happens in the second semester, so you have no excuse whatsoever not to participate. So what it does is that it takes all students from all the faculties, cross-faculty, and you compete. You just present what it is you are researching, and you win. And one of the categories that we have is what we call the 60-minute thesis presentation, 60 seconds. You must present all you know in 60 seconds so that there is no time for wasteful throat clearing. Just be succinct, concise, and just say the very vital thing about you and about your research, and you walk away with a lot of money. The third one is for PhD students. It's called the Wits PhD Seminar. It's also cross-faculty. So what we do is you use the knowledge that you're gaining from your research, PhD research. You don't have to do new research. Then you apply it to a topic that we just throw in the public. Like last year, a year before, in 2020, we had the word pandemic. So just use it, whether you're from engineering, whether you're from social sciences, whatever you are. Just think about what pandemic means to you. And the first prize was 35,000 rand. It's a lot. People get crazy there, when they carry bags of money from that. Then last year we had resilience. After pandemic, we had the concept of resilience. So approach it from whatever angle, from the knowledge of your own discipline. What is the world going to be like after the pandemic? What kind of resilience we need? So that too was exciting. And this year, because you are here, the early bird catches the worm. The word for this year that you need to address is innovation. My boss here would love to hear that, I'm sure. So that's what we'll be doing, and we'll advertise it. Then, apart from all this, we also do the PGA. I'll tell you just two things and then close up. We're also concerned with how our students need to be mobile. I've got this expression that says, and I got it from Chinua Achebe, the doyen of African literature, who wrote Things Fall Apart. And he says that a man or a woman who does not travel thinks that their mother is the best cook. So that in itself is a limitation, creates biases and fanaticism and fundamentalism. And we want to think in terms of relative terms. She's the best cook in relation to what, right? To Mali, to Guinea, to Congo, what are you talking about? So we have created with the PGA, that was there in 2019, what we call the PG network. And this PG network, I think the PGA chair will be talking to you about it because we're already making it move. We found some funding for it. It was established by the PGA, and it's a Pan-African idea where apolitical students, postgraduate students, connect with other student leaders across the continent. Across the continent, not just within your Mzansi. You need to connect with other young people out there. We're doing research. What are they doing? I think this is how you will find other places doing things. That's why they're always first class when it comes to us. They network and they work together. They pull, like you have heard about innovation, it's about collaborations and networks as well. So you'll be hearing about it. This will be the second time that we'll be working it. Then the second one is called Nature Africa. Wits is a founding partner of Nature Africa. And Nature Africa is an online magazine established in May 2021, and it reports on scientific research and policy across Africa. So we want a vision beyond your jersey, right, to connect everywhere. So across Africa. And Nature Africa publishes freely accessible science news, research highlights, and feature stories by African researchers based on published research. We want rigorously thought opinions. So published research, that's what we need to communicate. But we have to find ways of communicating it so that the broader majority of readers can understand it. Because the elitism of universities is such that you could end up amassing knowledge that even your mother cannot find use in. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o used to say, if you are so educated and you find that, you keep throwing words like neo-imperialism and capital monopoly or what, and your mother asks you, my child, what is neo-imperialism? And you find yourself referring your mother to your professor. You are actually a wasteful kind of intellectual because you are talking about what you do not understand. So we want you to dig deep and make the knowledge available to a very broad base of masses. So Nature Africa will help you to do that. So you can publish in English and French. So we encourage you to actually network with Nature Africa. Very soon they'll be doing a webinar, I think in the next five weeks, with the Wits students, and it's legit, it's approved by Wits. So that's one outlet where you can begin to create now networks for yourselves. Because it's one thing to spend your time getting a first-class degree in your silo, in a tunnel. You get out and nobody knows you. And you struggle to send out letters applying for jobs, and people say, we haven't heard of you. So it's very disappointing. You can take very long if you don't do that. So your success is our success. As Postgraduate Affairs Officer, I say, once again, welcome, you proud Witses. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Muponde, for those wonderful words and reminder of the various support systems and structures and opportunities that are available. I ask that you participate in those. It will help you grow intellectually. It will push your boundaries in terms of what you're doing, what you think you're doing, or what you should be doing. And so don't take lightly the impact that those opportunities and participating in those opportunities, whether it's the competitions, whether it's the gold program, or whatever other initiative, don't take lightly the impact that will have on your journey and the kinds of research that you will produce. You would have heard a lot about what informs your worldviews, what informs your research. As a postgraduate student, when we hear you, we should hear something different, right? Your views, what you put forward, should sound different to that of a first-year undergraduate student, or even that of a third-year undergraduate student. And so how do you push yourself to be that distinctive, so that when you open your mouth, we immediately know, this is a postgraduate. This is someone who's deeply involved in research, in questioning, in asking questions, and in trying to find answers to those questions. And you appreciate nuance and difference, and the wonderful example of thinking your mother's food is the best food on the planet. What is it informed by, right? From where do you get to that perspective? And so please be on the lookout for those and participate in those opportunities that there will be plenty of as you embark on this journey. You're a postgraduate student. You have graduated already. We now expect more, something deeper, something more reflective from you. Our next speaker is our kind of keynote official guest speaker for this afternoon. With over 20 years international experience, Leslie's specialist skills include process and dialogue facilitation, change management, innovation, and stakeholder management. Engagement. She breaks barriers by facilitating public and private partnerships. Leslie has worked across diverse industries, including academia, mining, banking, animation, and energy. A career highlight for her was moderating a dialogue on Nelson Mandela's legacy and the future of Africa between former President Barack Obama and Graca Machel in Washington in 2019. She is CEO of the Wits University's Tshimologong precinct that aims to realize African digital innovation for global markets. Leslie is founder of the Leslie Donna Williams Consulting, and in 2010 launched the first impact hub in Africa in Johannesburg, now one of over 100 around the world. She has served on the Global Association board and consulted to numerous teams in launching hubs. Born out of a need to address xenophobia in South Africa, Leslie convened I Am Africa in 2015, a movement to facilitate ordinary people in transforming Africa. She's a TEDx speaker. She has contributed to poetry in an anthology, A Better World, Hope for Africa, by young leaders across the continent. In 2018, she participated in the Obama Foundation Leaders Program, where she was also a mentor to the 2019 cohort. Leslie is recipient of the 2018 Inspiring 50 Award, an initiative by the Kingdom of the Netherlands to recognize the 50 most inspiring women in South Africa's science, technology, engineering, and math industries. She became a recipient of the 2015 Unashamedly Ethical Award in the business category, and in 2011 was selected onto the list of the Mail and Guardian Top 200 Young South Africans. In 2009, she was selected as one of 60 young global leaders on a BP Antarctica expedition focusing on climate change. She's a graduate BCom Industrial Psychology from the university down the road, and she's doing an MPhil. She's doing an MPhil in inclusive innovation at that university by the mountain and the sea. But a proud Witsie, and important to note that in 2021, last year, Leslie Donna Williams, CEO of Tshimologong Digital Innovation, was made a Knight of the French National Order of Merit by the Ambassador of France to South Africa. This award was in recognition of the close links she fosters between Tshimologong, the Embassy of France, and the French Institute of South Africa. Please welcome Leslie.
Thank you, Program Director. I know I need to make amends and get a Wits qualification under my belt. I'm also quite relieved that there's a lot of alignment between myself and what the previous speakers had to say. And I promise we did not exchange notes. And I also promise that there won't be repetition. So if one is feeling a bit tired, I know it's your Saturday afternoon, we'll try to keep the energy up. To kick off, I'm actually quite keen for you guys as the postgraduates, you're the actual esteemed guests of today, let's be honest, to just take a moment and look around the room, like look at who's next to you, who's sitting behind you. Yeah, you guys are the ones that worked really, really hard under tough conditions over the last 2 years to be here. And maybe give each other a thumbs up. And maybe even if you're close enough, maybe a fist bump, a COVID, COVID-allowed fist bump. Yeah, you deserve to be here because I know that Wits doesn't hand out shame degrees. So you deserve to be here. And then maybe take a moment to just pat yourself on the back. We don't acknowledge our own efforts sometimes, like, yeah, I did it, I am here, I deserve to be here. So well done to you. And today I'm going to speak about legacy and innovation. I'll introduce the work of Tshimologong in a moment, but again, today is really about you. And for me, Tshimologong is a platform to support you on your journey of your own legacy. Now, in 2016, the World Economic Forum spoke about skills of the future. And the future seems so far away, one day in the year 2020. And it's almost like they predicted it. COVID hit in 2020, and suddenly we needed to be experts at these skills of the future. And they keep updating it, so I've made a list of the most recent, and maybe just listen out and reflect. Like, what do you already have in your toolkit? And what are some of the things you may want to think about or pay attention to over the next season? So the first is around analytical thinking and innovation. Then we have active learning and learning strategies. Now, you may also come across the term the 100-year career. And again, for me, this is an eye-opener that we're never really going to retire from learning. We're living longer lives. We can't afford to retire at the age of 60. Some of us wanted to retire by the age of 45. It's not looking likely. And then, yeah, so we need this whole idea of continuous learning. Complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality, and being intuitive. Now again, I know being a postgrad, this whole idea of originality is quite often something that gives us restless nights. Am I original enough? Do I stand out? And then there's leadership and social influence. And again, a number of influencers were brought to the stage earlier on. And hopefully more of us can leverage their social influence to create change in the university. There's technology use, monitoring and control, technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility. Sure, I think like by now, number 9, we should all know that, well, we've had to display resilience. And some people haven't been doing so well. We've known this, we've seen this in the media, we've seen some of our loved celebrities that decided to step out of the game. Stress tolerance, and your stress levels will certainly increase over the next season. And flexibility, sure. Guys, I thought I was a flexible person in the past. I realized that I'm not, and needed to stretch that muscle significantly in the past 2 years. And then reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. Now, when we embark, and you'll hear more about the Wits innovation strategy in the next while, I'm not going to speak about that today, but this word, ideation, sounds so grandiose. And many of us are doing it every day when we need to come up with various ideas and learn how to select the ideas that we want to take forward. But my question to you is that, when we are embarking on thinking about, be it our legacy, about where and how we're going to embark on our careers, what is the big why behind what you're doing and what you choose to do? Also, Jim Collins speaks about your BHAG. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? And, this goal for me has often been my Northern Star. And at the same time, our goals often bring us great discomfort, because quite often things don't go our way in terms of what we think should be in place to further our goals or to achieve milestones. So we need to become comfortable with adversity, comfortable with this idea of failure, because really, failure is just a point of learning more than anything else. It's, again, one of the things we have in our toolkit. Now, when you look at spaces like, whenever we think about innovation and innovation clusters, everyone points to Silicon Valley. In fact, the whole idea of a moonshot came from Google out of, Silicon Valley in around 2008, 2009, thereabout. And again, when Google started thinking about moonshot, there was a lot of failure that they got in their bag. Now, venture capitalists typically in the US won't even look at you until you've failed in about 3 or 4 businesses, to be totally honest. So I think we need to already decide for ourselves that we're going to strip ourselves about this idea of failure and shame being the same thing. And actually be proud that when we have failed, we have stepped out of the box, we have experimented, we've dared to do something differently. And that is part of your armor of creating legacy. And then I'm not sure if I know you guys are all busy postgrads, but I don't know if you've had a chance yet to watch, what's the name? The new Kanye West documentary on Netflix, Gene Huss, thereabout. And what really, really stood out for me, and believe me, I think Kanye is quite crazy. We won't go into the Kim Kardashian divorce right now. But the big lesson that stood out for me when on that journey of, Through the Wire becoming his big hit and possibly his greatest hit, was that he used his experience of rejection, used his experience of being in an accident and even removing his braces. He pulled all of that into and how he became recognized as a genius in crafting this beautiful melody through the wire. So for me, that was again a reminder and even an invitation to become friends with adversity. And it's really about where and how do we channel it in to become those seeds of something more beautiful that we can work with. Now, when we are in these moments of toughness, believe me, we all know it, it's uncomfortable. How do we have the conversation with those who've invested in our education when we didn't do so well in a subject, or when we didn't get that endorsement for the next stage? When you may be in a relationship and, gosh, you didn't get that investment to start your business or that contract month in, month out as an entrepreneur. Now, again, when I said look around the room earlier on, the invitation is also to recognize that amongst you sits your future business partner, your future boss, your future employee, your future supplier, your future spouse, maybe even your future ex. We don't know, but this is the foundation, this is the playground, and people will remember you for how you made them feel, for how you treated them, for whether you kept your promises with each other, or if you had the integrity to apologize when you couldn't meet a promise. This here is the walking ground, and we are seeing each other, we are checking each other out. For the first few businesses that I've started and failed at, and with a few successes along the way, I did it with my fellow classmates. I did it with students that I was in university clubs with. So the invitation earlier on about using the spaces, and the DVC spoke about going out to the Origin Center, going out to these spaces that stretch us beyond our norm. That is where we start cultivating the habit of seeing and sensing what is around us. This is the muscle that we need to craft for this skills of the future, and the future is now. We've seen this, the future is now. And then yes, excellent. That is a win in my book. I figured out how the projector works. There is a term that the Japanese, or a model that the Japanese use called ikigai. So I want to invite you to think about what is your ikigai, what is your reason for being. And you may not figure this out today or even next week. For some of you, it may be a lifelong journey. I was in a talk with Prof. Barry Delatsky a few days ago. He's the Director of Innovation, and he shared on that platform that he found his dream job after the age of 65. Now, hopefully we won't wait until we're 65, you know, maybe now in our 20s or 19 or 30s. It's a lifelong journey. We'll keep on experimenting. We'll keep crossing various kinds of careers and spaces. So there are 4 key questions that Ikigai invites us to reflecting. The one is, what do you love? What do you truly love? Not what your parents told you to love or something that you've heard that, you know, is part of your family's legacy, but what do you truly love? And then, what are you good at? In what spaces are you almost like a fish in water that this just comes so naturally to me? What does the world need from you? And then finally, what can you get paid for? Now, a lot of us, you know, we may start with what we're getting paid for. In fact, I love this. What we're getting paid for and what the world needs may intersect. But like say, there may be excitement, but complacency, and then a sense of uncertainty. I know so many incredible people who have incredible degrees sitting in jobs and they're miserable. I remember visiting an accountant, I won't say at which firm, and after our meeting, he went to the storeroom and he pulled out his guitar. And he's saying, like, I would really, really love to do this professionally. Now, we don't know if he'll get paid for it just yet. It could just be a hobby. Maybe people won't. Maybe he's good at it. Maybe he's passionate about it, but maybe somebody won't pay for it. That's not sustainable either. You know, so you may start at one of these points, and that is okay. But my question to you, an invitation to you, is to go on that and choose to go on that journey of exploration until they all come together for you. Now, in our community at Tshimologong, and I know I need to explain what Tshimologong is, but I want to make this about you for a moment and give some examples of people I know who are living out their ikigai, that are living out their legacy already. So, the first is Lola Aitkins. I think Lola is 22 years old, the last I checked. Lola is an animator. Her studio is based at Tshimologong at the moment. After being a freelance writer, both local, and she's done some international travel being a freelance animator, she returned to South Africa and she was part of the 2019 cohort of our Animation Academy. Last year, she got funding from NAVF, National Film and Video Foundation, as well as National Arts Council to create her film. And it's about being a sports person. She's a sportswoman. And she's gone and hired half her class in producing this film. By the way, we have QR codes here, so if you are interested in any of the stories, you can just take a pic and we'll take you to a site where they're present. The next person, Sipokasi Feke, BM Brainwave Medical Group. So, by the way, that was a 12-minute interview recently on the news. What's the news? SABC, Morning Live. And she was basically saying about how, you'll hear this word a lot in the innovation space, pivoted her business. She shifted gear of her business during lockdown. Now, she's the first black female biotechnical, I'm messing up my language and forgetting exactly what she's trained in. But I'll tell you her story anyway of a company. Her company first started looking at getting tested for testing your dialysis. Over the last year and a half, she's grown and she started an e-service business looking at medical support from an e-service perspective. She's also scaled into Ghana, where she's doing medical tourism. Now, her work and her business has grown phenomenally. And this is why I'm saying we also need to look at adversity in perspective. Some of us could get stuck in the depression of spaces like COVID, or we could start thinking about that question, what does the world need now? And she saw that and she took that opportunity and ran with it. We have Nayo Hutiri, who is a Witsi. So Nayo is an engineer, And he won our Hack Josie Challenge in 2017 in partnership with the city of Joburg. Now, so R1 million, which is exciting, and I'll tell you what his business starts is in a moment, but Neo also found himself in a point of adversity. He had TB. And for many of you who go to community clinics, you know it's a nightmare standing in those queues. You have to take a day off. You're probably there like at 4 a.m. and sometimes you don't even get your medication. You have to come back. And Neo didn't mind so much being on chronic medication. He did mind having his time wasted. So he came up with a solution called Pele Box, where the pharmacists in the clinic basically dispense chronic medication in one of these boxes, and you get a one-time PIN by SMS. You can walk in and out under a minute to get your medication now. So he's now scaled to 72 sites across the country. And in 2019, Time magazine named him as one of the top 100 innovators in the world. Okay. Okay. I'll chat about Fixer, and then maybe I'll sneak in one more whose picture we don't have. So these guys have their day jobs. In fact, I know that most of them are going to quit their jobs by mid-year, so I can't say what companies they work for, because they are entrepreneurs at Tshimologong. But Fixer is basically a mobile mechanic business. So you can download the app, book a mechanic, and they'll come to where you are. Now, they also started with one site, and in the past 3 years grew to 600 sites nationwide. So that's what I'm saying. If you keep focusing on these questions about what do you love, what are you good at, what does the world need from you, and what can you get paid for, there's huge opportunity, despite what we see on the news in terms of the state of the economy and the state of the world right now. I'll sneak in one more because I think it's quite special. We consider our staff and our team at Tshimologong also as part of our alumni. So we've got Lesego Foster, who I'll name is also at sea. Lesego, I met a few years ago when I was in France visiting some of our partner companies, and I went to Gobelin, which is the top animation school in the world. And he was there completing his final film they have to create films in order to pass as animators. And so I got introduced to him, and we're like, Lesego, you've got to come home. We were both super excited by the idea of African-focused animation, African aesthetics in animation. So he came home, and he helped us launch our animation academy. He was our founding art director. Lesego has unfortunately resigned, but I keep telling him he's only resigned. He's just not on our payroll any longer, but he's always there. But the reason why Lesego resigned is because Disney Plus is launching in Africa at the end of this year. And they've selected 10 original African films that are going to be launched on it. Lesego's is one of them. So look out for Hidden Hand Studio. Okay. So there are a number of incredible spaces, and I'm not going to go into definitions of innovation today. We're not here for that today. But choose the spaces that you hang out with. Think about where and how you are intentionally within those spaces, on campus and off campus. Tshimologong is 2 blocks away. So my invitation is for you to come visit us today. Forgot about this film, but we'll move on. So I'm going to do a quick intro of Tshimologong. So we essentially exist, and you've heard by our example, to create world-leading African digital entrepreneurs. And we're pushing ourselves to always be world-leading. We are very clear that we're coming up and looking at contextually relevant problems. What does South Africa need right now? What does Africa need right now? And creating solutions, but at an excellent level that's also good for global export. So I'm going to rush through it, but maybe just to quickly say that when Prof. Zeblon Vilakazi he was in a lot of media interviews before getting the job at VC, and we kind of tracked some of the statements he was saying about the kind of place he wants Wits University to be. And we were quite excited as a Tshimologong team because we're like, actually, we're already practicing this. So if you want a glimpse of what will become standard within the university also, please do give us a visit. So this is our building. We occupy 5 buildings 2 blocks away on Jitter Street. You'll find places like IBM's research lab there. They've got 12 research labs in major cities around the world, and Tshimologong's one of those locations. So again, without getting stuck in definitions, I just want to share where and how we define digital innovation at Tshimologong. So for us, it's this intersection between hardware, software, and content. So from a hardware perspective, you'll find quite a thriving makerspace. And our makerspace is very proud that we contributed significantly during lockdown. Now, instead of us closing doors, we responded to a tweet from Netcare 911 that said they need PPE. We then partnered up with the labs across Wits and other universities. We partnered up with makerspaces across the country. And for me, that was super special because our entrepreneurs could keep working and earning. We proved that you can do manufacture at scale. We don't have to import everything. We have the capacity to already produce locally. Those are the 2 key things. There were a few things I was proud of, but those are the 2 that come to mind. Content, I already spoke about animation. We're launching a gaming incubator later this year. And then we do quite a bit of work in terms of software development. So I won't go through our theory of change, but every single thing we do is measurable and is for this ultimate purpose of creating world-leading African digital entrepreneurs. So this is our ecosystem, and I'll just zoom through it quite fast. So we offer programming in an academy in software networking, and then an app factory where we're very keen to see more Wits students apply. Now, this app factory is in partnership right now with Samsung. And we take basically graduates and work with you to develop your portfolio over a year of software development. And after that, we've been very intentional about doing job placements. So the first year, we've had 100% placement. In the next 2 months, we'll have 100% placement of last year's cohort, and we've doubled up classes. We've doubled up the cohort for this coming year. So if you are a software engineer, please do come see us. In fact, I've asked my colleague Eduardo to join me on stage shortly to speak about ways to get involved at Tshimologong. And then from an entrepreneur development perspective, we support you at every stage of your business. Now, remember earlier I used that fancy word called ideation. It's basically idea development. Even if you don't have that wow idea to start something just yet, spending time in spaces like Tshimologong will give you the tools and the know on how to develop that idea. What often saddens me is that a researcher will come to us and say, look, I've developed this incredible, I've taken my research to a certain step, I need to go to market, give us money and I have a business. Now, for those of us who've been in this space for a while, there's a filter to testing and validating your idea. So we really work with you to make sure that there's a real need in the market and desire for what you have to offer. We make sure that your technology is sound, because you cannot put something to market when it's not. Imagine buying something, an electronic device even, and it doesn't work. We'll all be frustrated. So we need to make sure that we validate that. And we make sure that you have a viable business model before you go out to market. And then finally, we've got a massive focus on access to markets. So I spoke about job placements earlier on, but from an entrepreneurship development space, we've scaled up a number of our programs to make sure that you get into the right place. I'll ask Eduardo to speak to most of them. But just to touch on the Studios Collective, we've seen that even if you understand your problem and you have an incredible solution, and you have an amazing business model, sometimes it's really hard, still hard to get a contract, either because there's gatekeepers in the market or you don't have the legitimacy yet. So as Tshimologong, we go to market, we'll get the work, and then we subcontract our interns and our entrepreneurs to deliver, to help build your legitimacy out in the market and develop that business confidence to then go out on your own 2 feet. I'll also just touch on the animation market readiness program. So in this program, we only select 5 studios per year. And we get you to the point where you can pitch your story to an international audience. So last year and this year, we've already taken animators to both Cape Town International Animation Festival, as well as Annecy International Animation Festival in France, where you pitch in front of the likes of Netflix, Disney, and Pixar, and a whole bunch of other leading studios. So I think with that, I'm going to invite my colleague Eduardo to join me on stage. I'm going to skip that, and in the meantime, play one of our animations.
I'll move on because we're short on time. Thanks, Leslie. I'm recently the new creative director for both Fakugezi Festival and Digital Lab Africa. And I mean, as Leslie was saying, there's these kind of connecting points between all of the speakers today. So from what Lynn Morris was saying about taking advantage of the various Wits kind of structures and spaces you can go into, Tshimologong is definitely one of those. And through projects like Digital Lab Africa and Fakugezi, I'm just going to go here to this to show you this. Please scan if you are interested. Digital Lab Africa is Africa's leading, or it's the Pan-African acceleration program, and it's really been developed and constructed. I think we can switch off the audio for that. Thanks. Thank you. So if you are working in creative practice across video games, animation, and XR, it's a really good opportunity to get major acceleration. So that is masterclasses, mentorships. We also have development funding for your project. And this is currently open. The applications close on the 7th of March. There's also a boot camp that is for a wider category. So if you're just starting to enter into the creative space, this is something that you should really be looking at. And we really suggest you apply for this. There's good funding. There's a residency opportunity for winners of the A for the acceleration category. And then for the Fakugezi Festival, I mean, something that the chairperson of the PGA was mentioning, Tando, that knowledge creation is important, but we need it to be relatable to people, and something that, I mean, I graduated from Wits in architecture in 2009. I would never have imagined that just 5 years later, Fakugezi Festival would start, and it is the leading African digital innovation festival. People talk about it all over the world. It is just 2 blocks away from here. It's a space that's really rooted, and I'm going to read this kind of verbatim because I think it's been so carefully structured, is rooted in showcasing and developing skills in technology, art, and culture in Africa. It was founded between Tshimologong Precinct, the Wits School of Arts, the Digital Arts Department, and the festival believes that for innovation and technology to succeed, a strong connection needs to be made to African cultural practice and creativity. So, without the creative side, this innovation and technology will never really reach us and be usable by us in the everyday. So I really believe in also the power of creativity to make ideas and new things accessible to people. And that's something that at Fakugezi we really believe in. It's a kind of meeting space for creators from across the continent and the world to come and speak about what is happening in Africa in terms of digital creative innovation. There's also a QR code here. We're really trying to better develop our volunteer program so that Witsies can also come, be part of the program. You will be able to have free access as a volunteer. You also get invited to events, part of Fakugezi. So be part of Africa's biggest digital innovation program. You can scan this QR code and sign up to the kind of volunteer form. There's also different kind of elements that you can enter into that. I won't keep people from, this is the QR code to go to Tshimologong in general, the website. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you, Eduardo. So the invitation is threefold. Sign up to our mailing list because of Poppy, I can't add you, and you're a lot. So go onto our website, sign up. Look out for our incubation programs around commercializing research. At the moment, we're about to kick off one around AI incubation. AIML. So for you guys in that space, keep a lookout for that. We're looking at healthcare solutions this year as well. But we're open to your ideas. So bring them. Let's experiment. Let's play together. And more importantly, keep working on discovering what your ikigai is. Thank you.
Let's give Leslie another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for that, and I hope all of you will find time to go down to Tshimologong to learn more about what they do, but more importantly, to kind of get involved in the various initiatives, to explore your own ideas, test what they might be about and what some of the possibilities might be around what you're thinking as you're thinking about creative solutions to the challenges facing our society. That brings us to the end of this part of our program. This initiative was really made possible by a number of stakeholders and people. And so in my closing remarks, just to say thank you to the Deputy Vice-Chancellor and to the Director of the Postgrad Office, the Head of the Liaison, Professor Muponde, together with the PGA, for really partnering with Student Affairs around doing this. What you'll find, and an important conversation taking place, at least in my circles, when I say my circles, in Student Affairs circles, there's a lot of question marks that we are asking ourselves nationally around the role of Student Affairs, the role in terms of particularly supporting postgraduate students. And so this is really us as a university coming together to look at the postgraduate experience, to innovate, to come up with ideas around what we think we should be doing, but we are also very open to suggestions from you around areas that we need to think about, that we need to innovate around in terms of making your postgraduate experience a meaningful one at this university. So thank you to the DVC, thank you to the director, thank you to the PGA, thank you to Tshimologong for being with us today. Special thank you to Professor Jandrel and the registrar, Ms. Crosley, who've joined us here this afternoon. Special thank you to the SRC, who have come in their numbers to be of support to the postgrad students, of course to the Postgraduate Association, and to everyone that has made today possible. The sound people, the venue people, the security people, the people who've prepared what you are about to receive, those people as well. A very special thank you for a university effort. Those of you who were in the sessions this morning will know that your deans and the heads of school were also available to introduce you to what faculties are doing and to give you a sense of who they are and where you can go as you embark on this journey. After this, and of course I must say thank you to Rebecca and Tembi especially from the Dean's Office, who worked behind the scenes, invited you, pulled us all together, nagged us at times to make sure that today happens. We really appreciate the both of you for what you're doing and for what you're wanting to do, particularly in the postgraduate space. Well, thank you to the Dean of to the Deputy Dean, who is also here with us this afternoon of Student Affairs, and just to say to you that there's a host of support systems available. Please, especially if you're new to Wits, there's a host of support systems available. Please tap into it. There's a host of development opportunities available. Please be on the lookout for those. Participate. Make this place your place. Make the space your space. You are a Witsie. You've walked through the front door. You belong here. Never doubt that you belong here. And because this is your home, do the best that you can to shape it, to make it into the best place that it can possibly be. We can all party and dance and celebrate 100 years, but in 100 years' time, a generation will look back to today and ask, what did those ones in 2022 do? what trajectory did they put us on? And that generation will either judge us harshly for what we have not done, or maybe poor choices we made, or they will celebrate us for being visionaries in putting this university on a trajectory to the greatness that it is, but the greater greatness that it must become. We must do that together. So in closing, I invite all of you to join us for refreshments in the Solomon Mahlangu House concourse. The ushers outside will direct you. Please use it as an opportunity to meet the people here who are able to stay, to meet the student leaders, to meet the SRC, to meet each other, and in that way kind of begin to form the special network. Many of you will join us at the Wits Theatre for a play that's being put on by the drama department. We say thank you to them in advance. So those of you who have your tickets, you'll be able to go to join us for the play after the refreshments. This was a wonderful afternoon. This was a wonderful day. It is a wonderful day. And I welcome you to this great university, and I wish you the very best in your postgraduate studies and postgraduate experience. Can we please rise, and we will now allow the platform party to first leave, and you can then follow us after that. Thank you.
But where